Hello my lovelies, it is time for my February wrap-up vlog, so stay tuned. So it is Thursday, February 3rd, and I have already completed one book. I finished Brother Song by TJ Klune. This is the fourth and final book in the Green Creek series. And though I can't really tell you too much about this particular book because it is the last book in the series, I can tell you that it follows Carter and Gavin's story, and they are my favorite. They are my favorite couple. Oh my goodness. My favorite character in the whole series, I think, is Gavin, and he is just, oh, I just want to hug him. And oh my gosh, this book made me cry. I loved it so much. What I can tell you about the Green Creek series is it follows this pack of werewolves. They're very, very gay. Most of them are gay, but there's also like Ace Rep, and there's a lesbian couple in there. There are platonic couples in there, and it's really a story about family and connections. And yes, there is big bads that have to be beaten, but overall it's a story about love and family, and it's so good, and I give this 5 stars. So it is Saturday, February 5th, and I've completed one more book-ish. I'm counting it. It is Consumed by Aja Barber, The Need for Collective Change, Colonialism, Climate Change, and Consumerism. And this is just like a little 17-page thing, and I thought it was going to be like an essay or something like that that like discussed all of these topics, and that's not the case. I honestly don't see the point of this little booklet. It says in here, it's Colonization, The Root of the Problem by Aja Barber, taken from chapter 2 of Consumed. So what's on in this book here is the equivalent of like 1 page from 1 chapter of this book. And actually page 14 and 15 was actually the exact same page repeated. This doesn't really give you any information or anything really. I honestly just don't see the point of this little booklet. I don't know that it's going to inspire somebody to, you know, go pick up the book. I think just the book itself would have been fine. I don't see the need in this. Anyway, I'm giving this 2 stars. So it is Sunday, February 5th, and I've completed 2 more books. The first book I finished was my buddy read, which was The Witch of Willow Hall by Hester Fox. I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. It follows a family that leaves Boston because of the 3 older sisters. The oldest sister, Catherine, she has been involved in some kind of scandal, and their whole family's kind of forced to leave Boston. And they move about an hour away from Boston into Willow Hall, which was supposed to be their like summer home. And while there, some like ghostly, witchy kind of things happen. And there's also like a romance that happens in this as well. Our main character, Lydia, she kind of figures out that she is something different than, well, there's just something different about her. And there's also something very different about Willow Hall as well. And she's like seeing these ghosts and things like that, and yeah. I can't really say too much more about it than that. I give it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it. I will say, however, there are trigger warnings for incest, attempted suicide, miscarriage, and abortion. So yeah, 3.5 stars. And then I also finished yesterday Queen of Hearts by Colleen Oakes. Well, this is the Queen of Hearts before she's the Queen of Hearts. At this point in time, she's just Princess of Hearts, and her name is Dinah, and her father is the King of Hearts, and he is this cruel king, and her mother's dead. Her father has announced that at some point he had an affair, and here's his other daughter, and he dotes on the other daughter, but he seems to hate on Dinah, and Dinah is the future queen, and these, you know, the next in line for the throne. And it would be her brother Charles, but he's quite mad. Her brother Charles is essentially the Mad Hatter. And I love how all of the different Alice in Wonderland characters kind of have their different roles here, such as Harrison, who is Dinah's tutor and kind of like person that makes sure she's where she's supposed to be at all times and doing the right thing and all of that. He's essentially the White Rabbit. And Cheshire is in here, but he's like this sleazy, slimy, underhanded advisor to the king. And I love it, and I give it 5 stars. So it is Tuesday, February 8th, and I've completed 2 more books. So on Sunday the 6th, I finished 1 Second After by William R. Forreston. This is kind of a near future dystopian type novel. There's actually a foreword in this by Newt Gingrich saying that this should be taken very seriously. At the Pentagon, they take this book and use it as reference because they believe that this is something that could actually happen, and that the U.S. is weak to. But essentially what this book is about is a nuclear blast is set off in the atmosphere above the United States, which causes an EMP that just wipes out all computer systems in the US. And that pretty much just sets the US back like 500 years. There's no electricity, there's no phone, there's no internet, there's barely any cars. The only cars that work are the really old ones that don't have computer systems in them anymore. There's no refrigeration. There's no way to make any medicines or get medicines from one place to another. And our main character, he is a former colonel in the military. Now he's a war history professor at this college in Black Mountain, South Carolina. And they moved there because his wife had cancer and she wanted to go back to where she grew up. And she has since passed away, but he's there with his 2 teenage daughters, and his mother-in-law also lives there. His father is in a nursing home there, or his father-in-law is in a nursing home there. When this EMP happens, several people end up dying like right away because life support, backup generators don't work because they need power as well. And there's not just power, but they have computer systems and stuff to turn on, and they don't. So a lot of people on life support die. A lot of other people die very soon after. Many elderly don't live long. People on medications can no longer get their medications. And like his youngest daughter, she is a type 1 diabetic and only has a couple of months of insulin remaining. And that has to stay refrigerated. And again, there's no refrigeration anymore. So they start going bad after a while. And the towns, they start going into martial law. There's like hangings and death by firing squads, and college students become a militia, things like that. It's wild, and it's scary because it very well could happen. And as I said, the US is very weak to this kind of threat, and this book was something that they have used to try to consider what needs to be done and how that this should be taken very seriously. This was something that they were looking into a lot before 9/11, and then it kind of got put on the back burner because of all of the 9/11 stuff, and everything had to change with that. So this is still something that could happen, and it's scary to think about. And irritant I guess I had with this book. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's so military heavy, and I don't really have a problem with the military part, because I mean Marty was in the Navy, so I don't have a problem with that. What I did have a little bit of an irritant to was, you can tell it's written by a guy in the way women are described. Like, even just talking about like this one college girl who's part of this militia now, when he was talking about, you know, the boys or whatever, you know, tall and stocky, and you know, he's a good kid, and you know, he was a football player or he was a basketball player. But like when he was referring to this girl, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, very sexy and curvaceous, but too young for him. And I was just like, eh. And when he was talking about like this other woman, you couldn't help but notice her cleavage as she leaned across, and I'm just like, that drove me crazy. But yeah. Anyway, I very much enjoyed this. I'm definitely going to continue the series, and I give it 3.5. And then yesterday on the 7th, I finished All We Have Left by Wendy Mills, and guys, this hurt me. I give this book 5 stars. It follows 2 perspectives and 2 timelines. So one perspective is Aaliyah in 2001, and the other perspective is Jessie in 2016. Aaliyah is a like 16-year-old, I believe, Muslim girl, and it's her first day to like decide to wear her hijab full time, and she's been fighting with her parents and all of this stuff, and she goes to see her dad, who works at the World Trade Center, to try to get him to let her do this program and get him to sign this permission slip, because it's the last day to do it. And this is on September 11th of 2001. And her timeline and perspective, it pretty much is just that one day. And then Jessie, it's 2016 for her, and her family is kind of in shambles. One of her older brothers was in one of the towers when they got hit, and he died, and her family never really recovered. Her mom just stays heartbroken. Her dad stays angry and is so full of hate towards Muslims because of this. And Jessie, she was pretty much a baby or a toddler when this happened. She doesn't even really remember her brother. She doesn't remember this event, but she wants to know like what happened and why it happened, and why he was even there, because he had no reason to be at the towers that day. And she wants to know, and her perspective is her going through and just trying to find out what happened to her brother during this day and why he was there and all of that. And this was incredibly moving and heartbreaking, and that is a day that I will never ever forget. And it's nothing compared to the people who were in the tower, or the people who had family and friends that were in the tower. But that day, we lived in New York, and Marty was in the Navy, and he worked at a Navy nuclear power plant. And sorry. The way this place was set up is it was in this big open area, and the building, if you know the big golf ball thing at Epcot, that's what this building looked like. It's very, very noticeable from the sky. And it's a Navy nuclear plant. And that morning, I got a call. I started getting calls like crazy from Marty's family and my family. And at first they were like, is everything okay? We saw that there was a bomb that went off in New York City. And I was like, oh, New York City, you know, that's hours away from us. You know, we're okay. And then more information started coming out, and that it was these planes. And I was watching the news, and news started talking about the military going out there to try to help. And I think it was the third plane, the plane that turned around and went to the Pentagon. Where they turned around was directly above this nuclear plant. And between that and the news talking about military going, I didn't know if Marty was going to come home. And I didn't know if he was going to get sent there. I didn't know if one of these that plane was going to decide to go into the nuclear plant, the Navy nuclear plant. It was a terrifying day. I was locked down on base, couldn't find out any information about anything, and I was scared. It was a scary, scary day. And I remember when Marty walked in the door, I just lost it. I started bawling. So this book, it hit me hard, and it's still hitting me hard. It's really well written. It's heartbreaking, and I give it 5 stars. So it's been a minute. And I know this doesn't look like my house because it's not. It's my hotel room. We were in Barcelona at the time. It is February 18th, and I have completed 2 more books. Yes, only 2 since the last time I checked in. But I've been vacationing and I haven't been reading. I've been exploring. But I did manage to finish 2. The first one I finished on the 15th, and that was Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy. And this was a reread for me. It's by Cassandra Clare and a few other authors. This is mostly Simon's story going through the academy and trying to become a shadow hunter himself. And I loved it, and I give it 5 stars. And I forget some things, you know, when it goes so long between reading them. I forgot what happened at the end. Anyway, 5 stars. Fabulous. And then I finished on the 16th, Once Upon a Book Club presents 12 Days of Book Clubmas, volume 4, and this is by 12 different authors. This is the book from their Advent box, and it's like 12 short stories for the 12 different days of Book Clubmas. Anyway, I'm gonna give this 4 stars. There were some stories in here that were like 5-star stories. There were a couple in here that were 3-star stories, and most of them kind of fell into the 4-star category. So I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was super cute and fun as always. So it is Saturday, February 19th, and I have completed 1 more book. I finished More Than We Can Tell by Bridget Kimmer, and this is the sequel to Letters to the Lost, which is like a duology. In Letters to the Lost, we follow Declan and Juliet and dealing with their grief over having lost someone. And Declan's friend Rev, this kind of follows him, this book here, and his story. Declan was adopted when he was 7 years old because his father was very abusive, and he kind of like has lived in this shell of wearing a sweatshirt all the time because he doesn't want people to see his skin because he's covered in these scars and all of this. And then we have Emma, who she's this gamer girl. She loves coding. She's built this amazing video game that has attracted hundreds of players, though she's having issues with a certain player harassing her and saying terrible things. And she's also having issues with her parents. They don't seem to really get along, and she adores her father, who is a game designer, and she kind of sees her mom as this harpy. Her mom is a doctor and is like a perfectionist, and sees all this gaming as like a waste of time. So when Emma and Rev come together, they kind of like help each other deal with their issues and come out of their shell and kind of enter the real world a bit more, because like I said, Rev's been hiding kind of from everybody, living in this little cocoon, and Emma has essentially been hiding in the computer world. And this is so sweet, and oh my goodness, things happen. My heart could not handle it. Oh, 5 stars. So good. I absolutely adore Bridget Kimmerer's writing, and I definitely recommend you read both of these books. They are amazing. So it is a Tuesday, March 1st, and I need to wrap up this wrap-up vlog. I have read 3 more books. So the first book I finished was on February 23rd. I finished Nevermore by Kelly Krieg. I give this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It's not necessarily an Edgar Allan Poe retelling so much that it's like inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, and his poetry plays a lot in this story. There actually are excerpts of his poems throughout it, and our characters kind of get sucked into the story in a way, and are sucked into the poems, and it's very interesting. I can tell in the beginning, this came out in like 2010 or 2011, something like that. And you can tell in the beginning, but that kind of gets better as you go. It talks about like my crew and so got dissed and that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, that's dated. But that dropped off very quickly. Our main character, Isabel Langley, she's like cheerleader and all of that. And then we have Varen, what's his last name? Nethers, and he's like the goth king of the school, and they get paired together in English class to do an assignment on a dead author, and they selected Edgar Allan Poe, and things just kind of go a little haywire, and all of her friends seem to lose their minds over her working with him on this project, like she had any choice. And people turn against her, people harass him, on top of the otherworldly type stuff that's going on. I very much enjoyed it. 4 stars. And then on February 26th, me and my little group that we have, it's a group on Instagram, we're called Cox by Candlelight. We did a little like mini smut-a-thon, and it was just like a 12-hour thing where we were just reading smut. And so I can't remember if I did it on Hoopla or Scribd, but I listened to Your Dad Will Do by Katie Robert, and that is straight smut. Oh my goodness, that's some serious smut. And I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. It was a good time. Not a whole lot of plot to it. The gist of it is that the main character, she found her fiance with his secretary, and their engagement was off, and it starts out with her showing up at her ex-father-in-law's house, and she's there for revenge and to seduce her ex's dad, and he's all for it. And it's pretty much just it's like one step above porn. I enjoyed it though. I gave it 4 stars. And then I also read Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lisa K. Adams, and I'm going to give this one 4 stars. This is probably my least favorite of the Bromance Book Club books. It was cute. I enjoyed it. This follows Alexis and Noah, and Alexis finds out that she has sort of a long lost family, and somebody needs a kidney, and she might be a match. And yeah, that's what this one's dealing with. I enjoyed it. I love this entire series. I can tell you that I am currently working on the next one, and I think it's gonna be a 5-star. I love it. But I'm giving this one 4 stars. And that is everything that I read in February. Hold on. Okay, so if I have all the books here, plus that one audiobook, that means I've read 12 books this month, which is actually not terrible. I thought it was going to be a lot worse because I didn't do a huge amount of reading while I was on the trip. However, there was a lot on this TBR that ended up getting rolled over into March. So March is going to be, it's going to be something. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye.